welcome. I'm sitting here speaking with Lisbeth McNabb, CEO and founder of W2W Link. It's a women's connection website for networking and growth. Also, Lisbeth has quite an extensive experience. I was pretty impressed with your credentials. Chief Revenue Officer with Match.com, and you also did Business Planning Director of PepsiCo Frito-Lay. So you have quite an extensive experience. I'm very privileged to be speaking with you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me here with everybody. And you definitely have a lot of drive and intensity around innovation, and that takes you a lot of neat places, including the ones you mentioned.
That's exciting for you. I'm curious, you obviously have a lot of belief and faith in women communities based on your current venture. Tell me a little bit about why you think communities like that and events like WISE are so important to women entrepreneurs.
You bet. I, really grew up as an innovator and an entrepreneur inside of places like you mentioned, Match and PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, AT&T, Sodexo, and founding W2W Link and being around wonderful places like WISE. I just love that what I found is that by, really getting women together, and I was one of a team that put women diversity inside of PepsiCo Frito-Lay, and then one of the 4 founders at Sodexo that brought first hundreds, now teens of thousands of women are in network groups in those companies. And so what I see and what I saw is that, having that networking, having that connection, building ideas, bringing men to the table at times, right? Like the Catalyst research shows, what we see out there is also having men to the table in certain parts of our journey of having the women together and connecting will really advance women, which will not happen without having also the advancement of the men's power at that table. And so when you come to a WISE, like many things, I think it is also important, though, to narrow the focus to women, because when we're in the room together, we're more honest and candid about our barriers, around things that aren't working, around some of our emotionalism, too, that sometimes we feel that we can't put in all of our, sort of mixed gender places. And when we pull all that out, and a place like WISE gives us tools, so we've got our energy, we've got our weaknesses and our strengths, and then a WISE with all these great tools, what I really find is that we really move it forward. We activate, we build off each other, but we really, as women, go and just get more and more done. And I love the power of women for all those reasons.
That's really cool. Last year at WISE, one of the things that really inspired me was Ann Messenger, who's a very powerful businesswoman in the Syracuse market, stood up at lunch and did this thing about the everyday women that inspired her. And she didn't tell anybody in the audience. And she named 5 of her women associates, and highlighted how these people had impacted their lives and they had no idea. And it was probably one of the most powerful moments for me in that event, is that the little things that people do that really move you forward, and the common goodness that we do for each other that we don't even realize what it does, the full power of it.
And to build on your point, and that's so powerful, she brought that in the room. And I think of conversation literally last week that builds on your point, which was one where we were talking about this event, or actually, sadness too around an obituary, and somebody at a memorial, or somebody saying that when they've left a company, those moments as they're leaving. So what's interesting is about that story, right, is that she was celebrating it right there. And what I think we often know is we've been touching people in everyday lives. They've been touching us. And we all know about our big mentorship and our big support, but it's literally when you realize that you are touching and influencing in small, medium, and large ways, and you aren't really seeing the clear evidence. And yet that spirit of why you're doing it is you must have that spirit of giving forward. And some regions of the country, we call it servant leadership, right? Some we just say it is that giving forward in whatever framing. And so what she really actually showed was a touch of that gift, and when you can really evidence it and see it, fabulous.
Yeah, it was very, very powerful. So tell me, you've had an incredible career and you're quite young. So tell me about what women inspired you along your way.
You bet. I think on that, and I think of, like you're saying, that there are women that inspire in different ways. And so when I think of a woman that inspired me, I think of my first days coming out of University of Nebraska. I grew up in the Midwest, and I went to work for AT&T. And so this was deregulation time, so it was a little latency that became very big over those next 2 years. So they hired in me with, tiers, across the nations to put in brand new sales and marketing centers. In this case, I went into Northern Virginia and grew from there. And so a woman, Carol that inspired me and really mentored me, she really, tapped me as seeing that I had a ton of potential and a ton of drive. And she had looked at barriers that she had run into. She was in her 40s at the time. I was literally 21. And so she just kept seeing that if she gave me an opportunity and I had no clear answers, I'd figure out how to get it done and just advance it. And I'd figure out people around me to get it done. And so she just kept raising the bar and giving me, literally we were building through a task force and then, a brand new channel center. So I was dealing with people 10 and 20 and, plus years older than me. And we all got it done side by side. And that confidence that inspired in me. By the way, at times she was incredibly motivating, incredibly intense, not so respectful. That's the way it sometimes is, right? Is that people that are growing and moving fast. And yet, in all of it, I realized there was such beauty in her believing in me, and that confidence from that situation. I speak to it so much to myself first because I feel like when I now look at 5 companies, 2 to 5 years innovation spurts later, I'm on 2 public corporate boards, and when I look at all the reasons of that, it's because I really feel like that when I was in the Northeast, right, I was mentored out of Nebraska, that it was because, she looked at what was I getting done, what was my capabilities, what was my willingness to drive at it, and it wasn't on what exactly was on paper or whether I had the perfect network. And so when I think of that mentorship as the entrepreneurs that are going to be at WISE, I think so many of us know that as an entrepreneur, you have to really believe in yourself and go after an idea, and it's not really clear to anyone else, so you have to have that drive. So mentorship from Carol in that case gave me a fuel that really comes across. When I think of, a very different, woman that means a lot to me, and I think about believability, I think most of us think of somebody in our intimate life and, formative life. And so in my case, my mom, I really have to bring into this because my mom, she didn't have a college degree. She got a 2-year kind of what they called kind of a business-like associates. And she ended up, really, she's got very different strengths than me. She's really organized and gets all this process done. And as a creative person, I don't do that so well. And so, but, so I watch, what she did really well. But more than anything, as a mother, and some of us have that from a direct parent, some of us have it from, another loving family member. But I know for me I literally can remember just thinking that she would be saying at me, you could do anything. It'd be like, you're going to try out for this. You're going to go after that. And sometimes I'd listen to her and I'd realize I sort of knew I'm more analytical. I don't really think that is completely true. And so I'd look at it, but what I knew was she believed that. And what you and I both know is if she believes that, I may fail. I don't always have to win, but I believed I could try and do my best. And then I could figure out over time what were my strengths and what were my passions. And if I put those together, what should I try at? But if I didn't try some of the things that she really believed, and I didn't know that it was completely believable, some I won and some I lost. And so, I just think that, for people, if we've had that in our growing up years or we haven't, what's so important is to find that mentor. I had a male member who mentored me, advanced sort of 10, 12 years in my career. And it was really trusted place. And what we know as women in entrepreneur settings or corporate settings, right, is that sometimes the feedback's ambiguous. And what this mentor did really well was he gave me really clear feedback. And so when things weren't always going well or I was running into obstacles, it was really clear what his perception of reality was from other places. And with that clarity, I could say I agreed with it or not. He could say he agreed with it or not, but I had to go lead against it, right? And so when we think about mentors, I just, have to say as entrepreneurs, we must have people that believe in us around us, whether it be as advisors or peers or trusted circles, because we are choosing to fight a fight that's a little harder than the typical by having to go after something that's not been done before entrepreneurially.
Awesome. That's great. Well, I love your comments and your insight, and I'd like you to just give us a quick overview on what you're going to be talking about at WISE.
Oh, you bet. I'm going to share and, as it is, also get a dialogue in the group because there's always such good ideas from there. But one thing that I've really learned as an entrepreneur, having been inside of companies and having to do pitches and having to now do pitches as an entrepreneur in all types of setting, and that's how to get to a one-way pitch that's really convincing. we've all heard a story, which is when I did something on a cocktail napkin, I pitched this and it worked. Or you'll hear the other extreme, which is I pitched something and I was told that I needed to have this format, 10 pages, formal process. And so it can be a little bit, is this about form or is this around substance? And how do I bring it together? And what I really believe, and I've done work on this, I've been coached on this, I've had great advice from others on this, is that what we have to have really clear is a crystallized one-page pitch that could be shorter form, put down on a cocktail napkin, could be inside of an elevator, could be verbally conveyed in a very convincing way, or if we were in a room and didn't have a lot of paper at our disposal, we could draw a clear picture on the board and convince someone. And if we have it that clear in our mind what the main points are and can bring it together into a one-page pitch, then the reality is our ability to do that as an elevator pitch, as a longer form pitch, as a let's now fill out the detail pitch, we can win. We can get to our goal because it's that clear to us and we know what the key elements are, and then depending on the audience and form, we can go pitch with it. And so with my background, having come up through sales and marketing and then added strategy, finance, and operations, and having been blessed with a lot of financial and strategy acumen because of those years of work, I really am really, really excited to be at Wise, sharing that with women in terms of how to go crystallize and do that really well. And really, I've been a bunch of mentorship and ideas, and people have given me wonderful resource of coaches. Let's all pull that together and get that into the room for a bunch of other people to win with that information.
Oh, awesome. I can't wait to hear your presentation. I'll definitely be in the room participating. Well, I want to thank you so much, Elizabeth, for your time today. I appreciate it very much, and I look forward to meeting you in person at Wise.
Oh, thanks for having me there and around there, and I'm so glad you were there last year to infuse into me what fun this is going to be by the team there, and what a great, fabulous marketing team, so we're all excited about being there together. Thanks for having me with you today.